Is the problem that they don't know what the Israelis are doing with our weapons, or is the problem that they have decided it's worth it?
This is a day with Dr. Feroze Sihdwa, an American trauma surgeon who has been to Gaza twice. He started by recounting one of his experience talking to someone from the State Department with his bewilderment why the United States is supporting Israel almost unconditionally despite the horrors we are all witnessing in this genocide in Gaza.
Is the problem that they don't know what the Israelis are doing with our weapons, or is the problem that they have decided it's worth it? You have to be either part of a society that has really gone down a dark path, or you have to be some sort of maniac to enjoy watching this mass killing, especially of children.
The point here is the level of depravity, the cruelty. It's mind-numbing. Are these people so sadistic they actually enjoy the slaughter and the annihilation of Palestinians?
So she said, no, it's definitely the latter. The U.S., everybody knows exactly what's going on. In fact, she said that like your New York Times article, the political article you wrote with Mark, the piece you wrote in Foreign Policy, and then not just stuff I've like plenty. I'm not the only person talking about this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Plenty of other testimony is regularly presented at meetings in the cabinet, and they just go, that sucks.
The reference there were interactions that he had during the Biden administration. So these people actually know what was happening. They were reading the articles about the genocidal acts that were being done to the Palestinians, including one of the articles that he actually wrote, which gave clear evidence how the Israeli snipers were targeting Palestinian children, shooting them, aiming at their head, with many doctors testifying and giving evidence to the targeted slaughter of Palestinian children.
And it seems like now what the U.S. is doing is trying to basically make Israel like the gendarme of the Middle East, and so that the U.S. itself can pivot over and start a war with China. They've been calling this the pivot to Asia since the first Bush administration. Like if you read Foreign Affairs or if you read James Defense, if you read these things, then you can see what these people are planning. It's actually pretty open. They're trying to get the U.S. forces out of the Middle East. Well, that means that Israeli militarism has to be dramatically ramped up, and October 7th happened to be a perfect justification.
That's the geopolitical element of this genocide. October 7 is used as an opportunity for Israel to commit a genocide, ramp up its military, so that America can pivot to focusing on China. Israel is basically a military arm of the United States that they can use in the Middle East to make sure there is no power that can challenge the U.S. arm of the Middle East, which is Israel. So this is not just Israel's war, it is America's war as well.
The reason the U.S. is doing these things is not because of the Israel lobby or all these other like claimed mythical creatures. It's because the U.S. decided after World War II to control the Middle East by force because of its tremendous strategic importance. Well, okay, that supporting Israel is just another aspect of that. In fact, it's a crucial aspect. You can go through 1960, like, the Israelis provided a major service to the U.S. by destroying Arab nationalism in 1967. And you got to remember, the U.S. was bogged down in Vietnam at the time, right? Unable to defeat this peasant army that they couldn't do anything about. They couldn't actually defeat. Whereas the Israelis came along and showed how you treat third world upstarts. You just kick them in the teeth and you take half their country.
He made a reference there to the War of 1967, when Israel launched a surprise attack on all its Arab neighbors, Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, and stole a bunch of their lands and refused to give them back. And that is when they also annexed Gaza and occupied West Bank and Jerusalem. Dr. Feroze also went on to talk about Miss Rachel and how she learned about the challenges or the horrors children in Gaza were facing, and how she began to speak about it and remain very defiant in defending and speaking out for the plight of Palestinian children, and how that helped bring the matter to the awareness of many suburban moms and many regular Americans going about with their daily lives.
He met a young Palestinian girl who had her leg amputated above the knee on one side and below the knee on the other. I think she was probably 4 or 5 years old. And she's got prosthetics at this point. She's doing fine. She's out in the hospital. And she was just on her show, and she's just waddling around because she doesn't know she's supposed to be embarrassed that she can't walk properly. And she just fell in love with this little girl. And so she started looking into what's going on in Gaza, and she was just horrified. And this is a woman who makes a living off of entertaining children for their parents, basically. And, she just started making perfectly simple statements like, I don't think we should fund the destruction of children. Yes. And of course, everybody said, "Oh, you're an anti-Semite." They're just all this stupid nonsense. And surprisingly, she didn't back down. She just kept going with it. Somebody showed her to me. I remember that I had seen a mom in Gaza distracting her kid with Miss Rachel, and I don't think she knew anything. Oh, Miss Rachel loves Gaza. I don't think she knew that at all. I think she was just like, "Everyone loves Miss Rachel, and here's some more entertainment." So all these suburban mothers learned about Gaza from Miss Rachel, and so then they were like, "What's Miss Rachel making a big deal about this Gaza thing for?" And they Google it, and then they're like horrified. They're like, because they had no clue this was going on, which is kind of shocking if you think about it. But at the same time, if you're busy, you've got 3 kids, you're trying to make them warriors,
Quite understandable. We are all busy going about with our lives. But one thing we all have to remember, in the age of genocide, silence is complicity.